Time is one of man's greatest mysteries, an enigma that puzzles us to our very core. Welcome to an in-depth look at time. Time is the most intimate stranger we carry inside ourselves. We wake up inside it, live every breath through it, measure our lives by it, fear its passage, mourn its losses. And yet when we try to grasp what it truly is, our fingers close on emptiness. It is not a thing, not a substance you can hold, not a river you can step into twice in the same way, and perhaps not even a dimension in the ordinary sense. It is the condition of everything changing, the silent permission granted to existence to unfold, the difference between what was and what will be. Yet it refuses to stand still long enough for us to say definitively what it is. Consider how it feels when you are waiting. A minute can stretch into agony, elastic and heavy, while an hour of joy vanishes like smoke. This distortion already tells us something profound. Time is not merely an external, indifferent framework. It is woven into the texture of consciousness. Augustine, 16 centuries ago, confessed that he knew what time was until someone asked him to explain it. He felt it in the soul's distension, memory reaching backward to hold the past, attention grasping the vanishing present, expectation straining toward the future. Time for him was not out there in the world, but inside, a threefold stretching of the mind itself. Without a remembering, attending, anticipating creature, there would be no time as we recognize it. The universe might continue its mute transformations, but there would be no narrative thread, no before and after that matters. Yet physics pulls us in the opposite direction, insisting that time is real, objective, woven into the fabric of reality itself. Newton saw it as absolute, true, mathematical time, flowing uniformly, independently of anything happening within it. Events might come and go, but time itself marches on, indifferent, a pure container indifferent to its contents. This vision allowed the classical laws of motion to be elegant and universal. Then Einstein arrived and time shattered. Special relativity revealed that time is not the same for everyone. Two observers moving relative to each other measure different durations for the same events. A twin who travels near the speed of light returns younger than the one who stayed home. Time slows near massive bodies. Clocks tick slower on Earth's surface than in orbit. General relativity fused time with space into space-time, a malleable geometry curved by energy and matter. Time became a coordinate, relative, stretchable, compressible, no longer a universal metronome, but a personal, local rhythm. Even this picture is too simple. In the block universe suggested by relativity, past, present, and future coexist eternally in a four-dimensional manifold. Every moment, your birth, this sentence being read, your death, is equally real, simply located at different temporal addresses, much like different points along a road. Nothing is truly flowing or becoming. The sense of passage, so vivid to us, is like the feeling of moving along a movie film strip. The film itself is static, complete, but a spotlight of consciousness slides along it, creating the illusion of motion and change. This is eternalism, the view that all times are equally real. Presentism, the common-sense belief that only the present exists, struggles to survive here. How can the past be unreal when light from distant stars reaches us carrying information from billions of years ago? How can the future be non-existent when the laws of physics seem to determine it as surely as they determine the past? The arrow of time deepens the mystery. Physics is mostly symmetric. The equations work equally well if you run the film backward. Drop an egg, entropy increases, chaos spreads. Reverse the film, chaos gathers into order. The egg reassembles. The mathematics allows it. Yet we never see reassembling eggs. The second law of thermodynamics decrees that entropy, disorder, tends to increase. This statistical tendency, rooted ultimately in the improbable low-entropy state of the early universe, gives time its direction. We remember the past, but not the future, because memory is a trace of entropy increase. We can affect the future, but not the past, because the future is open to our low-entropy interventions, while the past is fixed by its higher entropy consequences. The arrow is not fundamental. It emerges from a cosmic accident, a universe born improbably ordered and then relentlessly disordering itself. Carlo Rovelli, peering into the deepest levels of quantum gravity, goes further. In loop quantum gravity and related approaches, time may not exist at the fundamental level at all. The universe is not made of enduring things moving through time, but of events, interactions, relations, momentary happenings. Time dissolves into the web of these events. There is no global ticking. Each region, each quantum system, has its own local notion of ordering, its own thermal time derived from statistical mechanics. The smooth flowing time of our experience emerges only at higher levels, like temperature emerges from the random motion of molecules. At the Planck scale, the notion of continuous time may break down into discrete quanta, into a grainy foam of space-time itself. Time, then, is not a fundamental ingredient of reality, but a byproduct, a perspective-dependent phenomenon that appears when we are coarse-grained observers who cannot see the underlying timeless network. And yet, despite all this demotion, we cannot escape time. We are creatures built of time. Our bodies are clocks, heartbeats, circadian rhythms, cell divisions. Our minds are time machines. They string events into stories, project desires into what is not yet, mourn what is no more. Memory is not a passive recording, but an active reconstruction, always colored by the present. We age not just because cells accumulate damage, but because the narrative we tell ourselves about who we are requires continuity across change. Without time, there is no regret, no hope, no love that endures through seasons, no tragedy that unfolds slowly and inevitably. Eastern traditions have long suspected time's insubstantiality. In some schools of Buddhism, time is empty of inherent existence, a mere imputation upon impermanent phenomena. Hindu cosmology speaks of vast cycles, yugas, kalpas, in which time turns like a wheel, creation and destruction endlessly repeating. These views remind us that linear time is a cultural artifact as much as a physical one. Some indigenous cultures experience time spatially, with the past lying behind or below, and the future ahead or uphill. Others feel it as rhythm rather than line. Our modern obsession with clocks, schedules, productivity, time as money, is historically recent and peculiar. Perhaps the deepest truth is that time is both real and unreal, depending on the scale and the perspective. At the human scale, it is as real as pain or joy. It hurts when it runs out. At the cosmic scale, it fades into geometry, statistics, relations. At the quantum gravitational scale, it may vanish altogether. We live in the narrow band where time feels solid and directional because we are finite, embodied, memory-haunted beings who must navigate change without ever seeing the whole. So what is time, really? It is the permission for difference. It is the crack through which being leaks from one configuration to another. It is the measure of our vulnerability, the canvas on which entropy paints increasing complexity and decay. It is the reason we can say, "I was" and "I will be" in the same breath as "I am." It is what makes loss possible, and therefore what makes love precious. It is the dimension in which we are condemned to become, and in becoming, to disappear. We chase it with calendars and watches, trap it in photographs, try to buy more of it with medicine and exercise, but it slips away laughing. Time is not something we have, it is something we are, until we are not. And in that fragile interval between not yet and no longer, everything that matters happens. Woody Akers' Tales series are 20 books that weave thoughtful moral values into sci-fi, horror, and fantasy, delving into life's darker twists of the human condition. Stories feature characters in everyday scenarios laced with unexpected turns and eerie supernatural disruptions. These familiar threads unravel into subtle distortions, building thrills that scramble the mind. The fear, shock, and wonder challenge reality, bending your perception long after you read the facts. Like hidden gems, make every tale unforgettable. Grab one or more of these books today to enjoy at your leisure. Woody Aker Books at Amazon.com.